it's Amy and I am here today to do my April wrap-up. Now I know that April still has a week left in it. However, I am leaving for Colorado tomorrow or Saturday or yesterday or today or whatever day I upload this and you watch it. I'm leaving for Colorado and I'll be gone for 2 weeks, and so I didn't want to wait until mid-March to do my April wrap-up, so I thought I would do a wrap-up of all the books that I've read so far, and then at the end I will mention the books that I'm going to take with me to Colorado for a mini TBR. So let's get started with the first book that I finished in April. Was The Emperor's Chronicles by Susie Vitello, and I'm going to try to get this picture cover in here. I think it's a beautiful cover, and it's even really cool because it's upside down. So the book follows these two girls at the age of 15. One is in the present day and the other is in the past, around the 1700s. I can't remember exactly when. And you follow their stories of, one is the girl that's in the present day. She is dealing with being very germophobic and dealing with OCD and all of this stuff that a normal teenager wouldn't necessarily have to go through, but she's gone through some trauma in her life, and you watch as she deals with how to live on a goat farm with her father and learning how to rely on people when she doesn't want to rely on people. And then the other side of the story is the future Empress of Austria, and when she was 15 and coming into womanhood, learning to fall in love and what love means, and the prospect of an arranged marriage, and all of that goes into being royal and what their country is dealing with. And so the way the two stories come together is that there's this diary that the Empress has written, and the girl in the 21st century, sorry, I cannot remember her name. Let me check to see what her name is, because that just is bugging me. Liz. Okay, so Liz, she's the one that's in the 21st century. She is reading her diary, and in the description of the book, it says that it's a wormhole diary that connects these two. And for most of the book, I was waiting for it to happen, and it didn't actually happen until about 20 pages at the end of the book. And so the whole book, the whole first part is almost like a prologue of getting you into the story of world building and all of this stuff. And so even though it was a little frustrating, I was waiting for this big action wormhole type to happen, and it really never did. The story that was told was really good, and the problem sometimes with dual narrative is that, especially when it's completely two different stories, is that one is just really amazing and the other one is just one that you just kind of read through to get to the next one. And the two stories, they really held their own, and there were times that I really wanted to read Liz's story. I wanted to know what was going to happen next, but then there were times that I wanted to know what was going to happen next with the Empress. And so it really did meld well together, and it was an interesting concept, and I'm pretty sure this book is the first book in a series or trilogy or something. I'm hoping, because it ended completely where it almost could have began. So I would recommend it, and that was The Emperor's Chronicles by Susie Vitello. And then the next book that I finished in April was The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson, and this is a book that I'm reading for one of my Goodreads book club, and I'll put a link down below. And all that to say, this book is about this girl, I can't remember her name. What is her name? Princess Leia, or Elia, L-I-A, however you want to pronounce it. She flees on her wedding day, and in this village, as she starts a new life, she meets two men, and she has no idea who they are, but one of them is the prince that she rejected, and an assassin that was sent to kill her. So overall, I would give this book probably a 7 out of 10. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it enough that I will continue to read this series or whatever it is going to be, and because it compelled me enough to want to know what was going to happen with these characters. However, the whole book itself was very shallow, and the main character, she kind of bugged me a little. She was just very superficial, and I feel like she was very selfish for what the actions that she did. I would recommend it. It was an interesting interesting concept and an interesting story, and that is A Kiss of Deception. Okay, and then the next book that I finished, can I get an amen, and that is The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. This book took me a month and a half to get through. I was supposed to finish this in March. This was the Brandon Sanderson book for March, and I haven't even started Hero of the Ages, the next book in the Mistborn trilogy. So I can't tell you really a whole lot about this book if you haven't read the first one. I don't want to spoil anything from the Final Empire. This is the second book in the Mistborn trilogy, and I would say it is still fantastic. The writing is amazing. Brandon Sanderson does an excellent job of world building. He is one of the best fantasy writers that I've read that just builds this world that is so far from what we're used to, but still close enough that it's like I can imagine what's going on, but then there's just things that are just so amazing. And his description of characters, his description of different creatures, and of everything is just so spot on and amazing. The problem I had with this book, and I think I've said this many times, is that one, it is 760 pages, 800 pages, I don't know. It's over 750 pages. I did not get into this book until about 550 pages into it, and I stopped at 470, and everyone's like, just keep going. That's when it actually starts getting good. And even then, I got back into reading it, and it still took another 100, 200 pages for me to finally get to the point where, like, this is just compelling. I can't put it down. The last 200 pages, I almost sat and read the entire 200 pages in one sitting because it was so amazing. The end of the book is fantastic, and I'm looking forward to The Hero of the Ages, the third book in the trilogy, and it's just it didn't go anywhere and nothing happened, and it was a little frustrating. So everyone that said, just keep plugging along, it gets amazing, they were so true, and I definitely would recommend the Mistborn trilogy, and I am looking forward to reading Hero of Ages. So that is Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. And then the last book that I've read so far in April is Someday, Someday Maybe by Lauren Graham. And if you watched my video, my last video, I had an announcement. I'll put a link down below. And so you can go and watch that if you want a description of it, because I don't want this video to be so long. So I finished it yesterday, and I threw it across the floor. Okay, so I am not going to go into a whole lot of detail because I'm going to be doing a collab video with my two friends that are reading this book with me. And so I'll go into more detail about what I liked about it and what I didn't like about it. But I would have to say, just to give you a little idea of why I threw the book across the floor, was on a scale of 1 to 10, this would get maybe a 6.5. Maybe. Only because the secondary characters are so hilarious. I feel like there are times of wittiness and times of just hilarity, and I did laugh out loud several times in this book, mainly because she had a discussion in the same way that I've had discussions with other people, and it just made me laugh. The things that I did not like about it is that I didn't like the main character. She was just so unbelievably annoying and self-deprecating that I'm just like, to be your friend would be exhausting. And it was very predictable, and I have to say, shame on Lauren Graham. She put so many Gilmoreisms in it that I'm like, you're kind of stealing from the writers of Gilmore Girls, and it's just kind of made me frustrated. And then there's this line, she meets with an agent, and he is talking about how actors, they go on to do other things. He says actors should not do other things. They should keep with the craft that they're doing. And I'm like, Lord Graham. And so for what it is, it was decent. I would say if you were looking just for a very basic story that you know where it's going within the first 10 pages, you could pick it up. I hated the ending, hated the ending, only because she stopped it in the middle of a word. So dumb. That's what made me throw it across the floor. You don't stop a book in the middle of a word. You don't. You just don't. You don't. It's just, ugh. So, okay, that was someday maybe, and someday maybe you will pick it up and be as frustrated as I was. So guys, those are the 4 books that I finished already in April, and the 3 books that I'm taking with me. If I would have thought about it, I would have had them here, but I don't. So the 3 books I'm taking with me to Colorado are Cress, the third book in the Lunar Chronicles, the 3rd book in the Mistborn trilogy, which is Heroes of Ages, and my 3rd book in the Fountain Creek Chronicles by Tamara Alexander, which is Remembered. So guys, if you have read any of these books, I would love to hear your little tidbits down below. Just make sure you don't spoil anybody or you say spoiler alert. And let me know if any books that you are reading this month that you're absolutely loving or you've thrown across the room or whatever. And any other thoughts and things you would love to share with me. So that is that, and I just want to let you know that I may or may not be making a video for the 2 weeks that I am in Colorado. I will be online commenting, watching videos and all that jazz, but I personally may not be making a video for the next couple weeks, so just to let you guys know if you're wondering, if you're caring. Okay, I think that's it. Well, as always, I hope you're having a great reading month, and I will see you on the flip side. Bye! I almost went into laughing jingle bells. That would have been weird.